What is up, guys? We have got an awesome person in today called Christian Larsmon, and he is going to talk all things overcoming adversity. Christian, oh, here he is. That was quick. My goodness me. Um, he's on it, on the ball, Christian. I'm impressed. Here he is. I've... He's going to tell you all about himself. Much better introduction. There we go. Yay!
Hello.
And it's looking beautiful out there.
Yeah, I'm in my parents' garden right now, actually.
Nice.
Pretty
Oh,
lush.
lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Impressed. Right, so how are you today?
I'm good. I've been stuck at a computer all
Excellent.
day, inside a little box office, so it's quite nice just to get outside and talk
Yeah,
to another
absolutely.
human being.
Yes, humans are good. Humans can be good.
Sometimes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about sort of right, you run Recovery to Discovery and you run it because of your past. So if you want to tell us a little bit about why you do what you do, and then we'll sort of go in from there.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, firstly, I'm really grateful for you inviting me to do this in the first place. I think it's a really useful thing to do to support each other, coaches
Yes.
that are trying to build something, doing it on your own is tough.
Yeah,
So
it is. I agree.
and
Support
having that,
network is key.
yeah, and having that open dialogue about that as well, like you can make your Instagram feed look like it's like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this and it's amazing, and well, the fact is that it's really not. It's really hard work, and some days you feel like, what is the point of even doing this,
Yeah,
but I think
100%.
that sort of feeds in quite nicely into what you were asking me, that question about
Mm.
why recovery to discovery. So a little bit about me, I guess. I was brought up in Surrey near Guildford. I had a pretty great upbringing. I had the best education. I went to good schools. I was always very sporty, athletic at school. Um, and slightly lost my way a bit when I left sort of the sort of private school system, went off to college and kind of got a little bit into drinking and trying drugs out a bit. And my grades weren't great, but I managed to sort of scrape some grades together, went off to university like most people do, after doing their A levels. Um, and that was when, like, I started to get quite into partying. It was just drinking, really. First year, kind of that standard freshers mentality of go out every night and spend all your student loan, and I did that quite well. I think I should have really got an award for spending my money the quickest. Um, yeah, and then like
You
sort of
have to be good at something, right?
well, yeah. And then like second year at university, I got sort of into sort of the dancey scene, and that's when like Class A drugs were kind of being passed around, and I was actually kind of terrified of drugs because I remember, when I was at college, I smoked a bit of weed, and I it just sent me mad. So like the idea of anything like more, you know, extreme, just I was
Mm.
scared. But one day I decided to try some Class A drugs, and I remember just absolutely loving the feeling and never really looked back. I sort of kind of became a necessity almost, like for nights, certain types of nights out. And despite the horrendous like hangovers and come downs and stuff, I always thought, well, it's worth it. It's worth those highs and chasing those highs. And I was quite often one of these kind of last man standings. One of those guys that would be sort of sitting in your house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, go,
Yeah.
go home. See
Why are
my
you
friend.
still here?
Yeah, hanging wondering if you've got any more drugs I can take off you. So yeah, that was kind of, my uni experience. Let's put it this way: I didn't exactly apply myself to my studies, and then, but again, like my A levels, I kind of scraped a degree together, and then headed to London, like a lot of people do, to find work. And actually, was quite fortunate. I managed to get work relatively quickly, but that's also when I sort of, discovered uh, cocaine, and that's when it was like probably my early 20s where I sort of started getting into that, thinking it was quite cool, and loads of other people did it, and my housemates at the time did it, and kind of just loved it. Really, I just thought, like, this is life. You
Yeah.
work, and then you party and feel shit on the weekend and go back to work. Um, and I guess I think the most important thing is that I didn't really have. I felt a bit directionless. I never really had
Mhm.
tension to, like, go for something. That was
Yeah.
partly, being completely honest, probably partly down to preconditioning through being, by no fault of their own, but, like, you know, sometimes what the people that care about you want for you is not necessarily what's right for you. But if you're
Yeah.
so certain of what it is that you want, you kind of go with it. And I
Yeah.
think that I basically wanted other people to make decisions for me because I couldn't make them for myself.
But
Because
you
I didn't
never had to, so yeah.
know, and I think I was just fearful, and I never really felt like I had clarity, or I was like, I can never really make the things that I actually love to do. I don't think I can make that work. Like,
Mhm.
how am I going to make a living from that?
Yeah.
What are other people going to think of me? So I just kind of bounced in my 20s through different jobs. I worked in retail management. I did legit
Yeah.
work hard, play hard, um, and it was all right. Like, I could get away with it to a degree. I never really lost a job.
Mm.
Um, Managed to, like, pay my rent most months. It wasn't like drastic at this stage, so the consequences were very few. But it was when, it was kind of back in November. No, back in, like, end of 2016, and I was in a relationship, and I was in a corporate sales job, and I just was thinking to myself, like, this is getting a bit out of hand, and, like, my relationship was pretty toxic. Like, we both kind of were into that scene a bit, and
Mm.
everything was a big drama. Like, my life was so unmanageable. Like, I don't know, could never seem to, like, show up on time for anything. Um, and I was miserable, and people didn't really understand it because they're like, you've got everything. Like, what are you
Yeah.
complaining about? Like, you've got a nice suit on, you've got a good job, pays a good salary. You've got
Yeah, but that's not everything. We know that now.
yeah, 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 of course. Um, and that was the problem. Like, I just thought, like, I should be happy, so I would try and persuade myself that I was happy. And my escape was, I realized it was an escape. It was drink and drugs. So
Hmm.
initially it was an escape until it became like I needed it.
Hmm.
You know, it became like I'd lost control of it. The escape had turned into, like, rather than just like a sociable thing with friends, it was like, okay, I've got a bag of coke on me. I don't really care if anyone else is doing it or not, but I'm going off and
Yeah.
I'm taking it.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm going to go home and probably use it on my own. Um, you know, it got quite dark by that point. It was just like
Mm.
not glamorous. And I was in my apartment. Oh, I have to add this before I sort of go into rock bottom. because I thought it was everything outside of me that was the problem, I actually left London and I went to Ghana for 3 months to do
Okay.
to do like a volunteering project as like a team leader for a social enterprise called Balloon Ventures, and they help like young entrepreneurs to start, grow, and maintain businesses. And I was leading a bunch of volunteers from the UK, and I thought this is like going the other end of the corporate thing. Like I'm going to go and make an impact. I'm going to step outside my comfort zone. I'm going to do something a bit different. And it was a great experience. Don't get me wrong, but what I didn't realise was that my addiction, if you like, was sort of doing press ups in the background. So the
Right.
moment I got back to England, this is the way I see it. Everyone. The
Hmm.
thing is, of course, everything's neutral until you give it meaning. But as far as I can see it, like it was doing press ups in the background because essentially I was just running away from myself. And when I got back to London, I was offered my old job back. This was back in June 2017. Accepted it, went back up to London, and that lifestyle, that hard and fast lifestyle, just straight away came straight back in. And I was, and that's when it was just like, it felt like it got 10 times worse than it was before.
Mm.
And that's like, eventually I just remember it was one day I was sat in my apartment and I was just like in a pit of my stomach, when you're just like, I can't live like this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Like, and that's when I admitted that I had a problem with drugs, and I admitted it to my parents firstly, but then I kind of took a friend had been in like a 12-step recovery program and suggested that I might want to go to a meeting, and that was like the beginning of my recovery journey. And
Mm.
sort of standing outside church halls on a Friday night, kind of thinking, what am I doing here? But also like really identifying what people were saying. And it was then that I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see what all the fuss is about and take this seriously. So I did what was suggested, but after a couple of months, I had to go and do some research. But thankfully, that was the kick up the arse I needed to remind me that I'm not designed to to take those things. Like it's just not. Some people are just not. I'd like to. It's like it's a disease, if you like. I think some people can put certain substances inside themselves and they can stop. Some people can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, so since November 2017, I haven't touched a drink or a drug. One day at a time,
Yeah, of course.
and I guess over the last 6 months, I've been sort of trying to. I mean, to be honest, not just the last 6 months. Last 2 years, I've been trying to find myself a bit and
Yeah.
recover myself. That's like, who am I? Like,
Yeah.
what do I want to do? And how do I want to contribute to the world? How do I want to serve people? And I felt like this topic today that we agreed would be good to talk about, overcoming adversity, was quite apt, because coaching, I'm also a personal trainer as well, and yeah, that's how I sort of see myself serving the world, really. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have a friend, and we were discussing the other day how it's the best mindset you can have is that you're always unfinished, and that you're always learning, and that you're never going to be complete. You're never going to reach the end. It's always learning, it's always growing, it's always progressing. And it's, if you can keep that attitude forever, some people can't, but if you can, if you make it so that you can always keep that attitude, then you're never gonna fail, because you're always growing, and whatever you do, you're always growing. And I quite, I like that. I think a lot of people, when they begin, certainly with a trainer, maybe a life coach, maybe they're beginning their recovery journey or whatever, if they're going through a change, they have a goal for the outcome, but actually the goal is just the beginning. I find, and the goal's always changing as well. So it's like, I'm going to do a year sober, I'm going to do 2 years sober, I'm going to do 3 years sober, I'm going to do 4 years sober, I'm going to help other people do a year sober. I'm going to, so the goal's constantly changing, and you're always progressing and you're always growing, but your goal changes with you. It's not like it's like, oh, I'm going to do a week sober. Yeah, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a week with just like one bit of Coke. And then, oh no, actually, I'm going to do it sober. It's not changing like that. It's not going up and down. It's going always up, always progressing, always growing. It's like, yeah. I don't know. That's the best way to kind of explain it, I guess.
Well, that's what you realize, is that when you do sober up, it's like, it's so much more than just putting down the drink and the drugs. It's an evolution. It's kind of like trying to move more towards, like, I don't want to say perfection, because that's just like, no one's perfect, but moving more towards being like the version of ourselves that we were always meant to be, sort of thing. But we lost our way. A lot of people lose their way along the journey, and as you quite rightly said, it's just the beginning. Like, I see, I have to remain teachable, keep humble. I don't really know anything, to be quite. So I'll be completely
none of us do. None of us do.
No, but certainly through the last couple of years, and this is where, like, with the coaching that I do, it's been sort of, how can I better understand who I am?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of person do I want to be in the world? What kind, and goals that we, sometimes talk about, they sort of feed into that as well. And then after goals, obviously you've got habits, and I don't know if you've there's James Clear, Atomic Habits, and he talks about how everything that we do is kind of like a vote towards our identity.
Okay.
So I love how that's kind of what I've tried to do with my coaching program, is kind of like break it down from, like, this is who I am, or at least this is what I want to become. This is what if I'm saying I'm this, then I need to have goals which kind of align with that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like what you were saying earlier as well, about one step at a time. And yeah.
But I also don't want to.
Sorry, I think it's inspirational. Yeah.
I think it's important also not to be too wrapped up in. I think one of my problems, if you like, was I would get because I'm quite driven, I'd get wrapped up in the whole goals, must hit, and wonder why I was really stressed out or depressed or rubbish. I mean, like, why I've got, even when I hit the goal, it's like I don't feel. I think sometimes we don't take a moment just to stop and try and kind of align a bit. I saw like
it's like you climb. So like so one of my I've been on a business and marketing course, and the coach there, he's a really cool guy, Daniel Priestley, if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's awesome. And he said he tells a story where he was on holiday and he climbed this mountain, this like massive mountain. It took them hours, and you know, it's really hard work and all the rest of it. And they got to the top of the mountain. They're finally there, and then he sees another mountain, and he's like, "Oh, I want to climb that mountain." And the tour guide was like, "Dude, appreciate where you are. Like, appreciate the view from here first before you want to go and climb that mountain, because you know, we've just taken like a day to climb up this mountain. So
True.
all that hard work that you've put in, and then you just want to go climb that mountain. And it's like,
Mm.
you can't do, well, you can do that, obviously, but like, you're not appreciating where you are. Like, let's appreciate the mountain we're on. And then let's take a moment, and then maybe let's do the next one, you know? So it's like, yes, you can climb both mountains, but you have to appreciate the first one before you do the second one. So
Yeah, that's a cool story. Have you heard? So you know, like the SMART principle, setting goals. Someone introduced me to
yeah, yeah.
Smarter.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of them. Yeah. Okay.
You hit, and it's like as you similar to the mountain thing. It's like you're not stopping for that. You're not stopping to sort of appreciate that you've just hit a goal. Therefore, I should reward myself for that, because otherwise you're then just moving on to the next thing. Um,
I totally agree. And I was actually going to ask you this. How do you celebrate? Because a lot of people would obviously celebrate by going out and having a drink, uh, or something like that. So how do you celebrate is my question.
I don't do it enough. So I mean, I'm not. I think I'm probably not necessarily practicing what I preach here. But when I was living in London, London has a really good alternative, like going out scene for sober people. There's a lot of like
Mhm.
sober raves where you can just really like let go and just like dance like an idiot. Um, yeah, I'm not like, I don't know. I quite enjoy the simple life as well. Like I'm not particularly extravagant. Like even just like going for a run in the countryside or a walk or something, just like is enough, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, so
That's
I don't.
that's a good that's I mean that's a good thing. I kind of always promote me time, and me time can mean anything that you enjoy. So it could be something like, you know, going for a longer walk, having a like a relaxing bath, you know, watching a film that you have wanted to watch for a while, or you know, anything that's just doing something that you enjoy and allowing yourself to enjoy it, instead of going, oh, I've got to rush back to go to work. Oh, I can only be 10 minutes on this because I've got to rush back, and I've got to go and do this for the kids, and I've got to go and do this for my husband, and I've got to go and do this and whatever, you know, like it doesn't even matter. But it's like, it's more about letting yourself take your time on something than rushing through it just to tick it off like a checklist. Um, so
Yeah,
that's kind of a little bit of a different stance on the whole celebration thing, because I think it's really important to celebrate things, and I definitely promote it. Um, but
mm,
it's more, you know, it's more about the time that you dedicate to it over what it actually is, I think. And a personal, on my personal thoughts on it. But
no,
it might be, you know, food for thought for you.
yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think just like guilt-free time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Interesting concept.
yeah, guilt-free day off or guilt-free weekend. You know, of doing what you
Yeah.
want to do without feeling. Yeah, yeah, that's a challenge, particularly when you feel
Yeah.
like
Well,
it's particularly when you feel like you haven't had a productive week
yes. Yeah.
because for whatever reason you've been distracted,
Yeah. Doesn't matter
need
what the reason is. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? Um,
But
but it's
yeah,
like,
I think a lot of you punish yourself for especially like self-employed people. I found is the worst for it is that if you haven't achieved every single goal that you were going to achieve or you wanted to achieve in your work, you end up punishing yourself for it. Or I'll just work more. And instead of actually what would probably be more productive is going, well, I'll take a weekend off and then I'll come back fresh on Monday, and the weekend off you're not going to think about work because you're going to be guilt free and relaxing and doing whatever you want to do, and then actually you're going to come back better on stronger on Monday, and B, you've had your like recovery weekend and you get to like treat yourself in a nice way instead of bullying yourself to do things that you don't really want to do, when your head's not in it as well. And it's like if you were working in an office or something and you were like a little bit less pressure, maybe you have a team around you or something like that, you're not going to put as much pressure on you because you know that you have someone else to take the slack if you need to. Whereas when you're self-employed, you don't have that privilege. So you kind of have to really get on yourself. But I guess
yeah,
sometimes it
like
gets
a
to the point
manager.
where, yeah,
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 manager. It's
exactly.
like, all right, guys, not a great week this week, but let's finish early today, and well, go to the
Yeah,
pub. Um,
yeah,
but like, yeah, yeah, it's a hard, it's difficult. If
yeah.
there was,
No, it is for sure.
you don't have someone on your
If it was
shoulder.
easy,
Like,
everyone would be doing it.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, so you hit rock bottom when you're on your own in the apartment, and sorry, I'm not American, flat, and yeah, and you realized you needed help, and that was your rock bottom. That was like your worst point, right?
Yeah, that was when I was just like,
I need help.
I can't do
And
this.
then
Yeah.
yeah, and then from that point till you got sober, what was the one thing that was driving you?
Um, I think it was just they talk about it in sort of recovery, I guess recovery based
Hmm.
meetings. That gift of desperation, it's that window of opportunity where you're just like, I will do anything to stop this because I know I'm capable of so much more, and I'm not. This isn't me, you know.
Yeah,
Um, so that open mindedness and that willingness, um, to take on, some suggestion, um, was was the beginning of fueled me. That was the determination factor, I guess. I was like, I'll do what it
sure.
takes, show me what to do, and of course, I
Yeah.
took my foot off the gas on it. But I think I needed that. I needed that. You know,
Hmm.
you need it's consistency,
Yeah.
and that's actually definitely a value that I've taken away from going into recovery. It's like it's doing the same thing. It's that compound interest of doing the same thing over and over again, where it's almost like that muscle's being flexed so much that it just
Yeah.
becomes habitual, second nature.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it becomes natural to you then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It took
No,
a while,
that's awesome.
and that's why a lot of people slip, because it's like habit forming. It's like reforming
Yeah, of
like what
course.
you're doing on a day to day
Well,
basis.
it's reforming a habit that you've built over 10, 12 years, and you can't just break that habit in 12 days, like it's ridiculous to think possible, really. And it's like looking about how long have you had this habit and how long is it going to then take you to break that habit and form a new one in place of it? Because I think breaking the habit and forming a new one is a completely separate skill. Um, as far as
Yeah.
I've worked out, anyway, in my life. You're just breaking up a little bit.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if you want to
Is that any better?
go closer to your Wi-Fi, maybe.
Is
No.
that any better? Ah, sorry, dude. I came in because I
Right.
wanted to charge. Hang on.
Oh, there we go. I can see you now. Awesome.
So it's worried my
Yeah,
battery was going to
so,
die.
oh, right, okay. Yeah, so I think, where do we get to? So yeah, so you're forming your new habit, and then at what point of the journey of forming your new habit did you think, you know what, I'm okay with being sober now? This is actually a really good thing. I'm really happy with this decision.
It was after I did what they call a step 4,
Okay.
which is where step 4 and a step 5 is where you write down all the things that have, as Russell Brand would put it, fucked you up, and read it out to someone that you trust.
Wow.
And that was the big. That was when that was the sort of like the world that you had on your shoulders just kind of releases, and you just feel so much lighter. And it's a scary experience, doing something like that, because
Yeah,
you don't know what's
I
going to
can
happen.
imagine.
You're worried you're going to get judged, and then you realize the beautiful thing is that the person that well, in my case, the person I was reading mine to was someone that had done worse, if not the same. We're very, very lucky. I feel very lucky to have done that, and that was when, I was like, I've made the right decision. I wouldn't. My worst day sober. I would never trade my worst day sober for drinking, because drinking just takes away everything. Addiction takes away everything.
Yeah, it
It
does.
takes away your time. Your relationships suffer. Your health suffers. So yeah, today my priority is looking after myself. Eating well, exercising.
Yeah.
Self-care is really important.
Yeah, totally agree.
Just trying to be sort of a better person, I guess. That's what
Yeah, well, I think that's
that's the
all
goal, and
any
I'm
of
not.
us. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about your program. So Recovery to Discovery is your business, and you run a program. You run an online program. You want to tell us a bit
I
about
do.
that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, so it's an online coaching program designed to help people. Originally, funnily enough, it was targeted specifically at people in addiction recovery. I've realised that is very narrow. I'd rather just sort of, it's more millennials that are feeling lost,
Yeah,
in
that makes
their
sense.
lives. And there's a lot of them, I think.
There's a lot of them. There's a hell of a lot of them.
Feeling disillusioned with their current circumstances. Another spanner in the works, of course, is COVID. So, now is a good time, I think, for people to sort of reflect and understand, okay, well, actually, why was I doing all this shit in the first place? Let me understand what I really want to do, get that clarity, and be given those tools to provide them with that clarity, and to find focus in terms of, right, okay, now you've got that clarity, what do you need to do in order to start moving more towards your authentic life, your authentic self?
Mm-hmm.
And to have, and my role as a coach, I mean, ultimately this is up to the individual to do, as you posted recently on your I think it was in your stories, about it's not my job to do the work for you. It's I'm your personal cheerleader, and I'm here as a sort of accountability source, but it's up to you to just to do it.
It's up to you to make the decision to do it, and I'm going to help you by giving you the tools to enable you to do it, kind of thing. But you have to make the decision, and that's, I think, so important, because otherwise you end up spending your entire time going, well, I can see what you're doing and I can see that it's not the best way to live, but you can't see it. So then you're not going to want to change it because you don't see a problem, you know? And it's the same with exercise, it's the same with food, nutrition, drugs, alcohol, anything that you think of. It's exactly the same. They have to make the decision. Um, and we've both
Yeah,
been through a lot of alcohol abuse, and you've been through drug abuse, and it's always the same. You have to make the decision, otherwise nothing's going to happen.
you've got to want it. You've got to want it,
Mm.
and we all have fear of, a lot of people have fear of like investing in themselves. They feel like they don't deserve it. It makes me really
So
sad.
much, so much.
I had a conversation with someone the other day who we had such a good chat, and then his girlfriend came home later that evening. Found out she got herself into a master's program, which is amazing. But he was like, yeah, I don't think it's okay for me to invest in myself because she's got that thing going on. And I'm just like, oh my God, like you need to also look after yourself. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I just think there's that lack of self-belief and self-love and also fear that holds a lot of people back for going towards what they need to be doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And having that sort of coach to be like, right, listen, dude, we agreed on this.
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
What you said you were going to do.
Yeah. And I think, I certainly a problem I come up against a lot is women who are married and their husband is scared that they're going to become a person that they don't like anymore, that, they're a bit too confident, too assured of themselves, and too, like they know what they want too much. And the husband prevents them from exploring that side of them because they're scared. And that's something I've come across a lot. And it's like, really, to me, it's really shocking because it's so much. And yeah, as I said, the first time I saw it happen, I was like, that can't be right. Like, I'm sure that's like the only time I'm ever going to see that. And then it happened about 6 or 7 times more, and I was like, holy shit, it happens all the time. And it's like, it's not the person that's preventing themselves, but it's the person so the wife would like to explore that side, but they wouldn't like to explore it enough to go against their husband. And that's the problem, because they won't go, no, I'm going to do this. They go, oh, he doesn't want me to. Oh, it's okay, don't worry. And it's like, no, man, you can't.
Him up, is it?
It's what?
Is it like an ego thing? Like is it like an ego thing? He doesn't want
to
be
for sure
seen as see them succeed over them, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's small dick energy, as I like to call it.
Small
True
dick
story.
Energy. Oh,
true story.
Interesting.
The only people that are going to disagree with me on that are the people that have small dicks. So that's all I can say about that. But anyway, I just mean, like, there's so many things that prevent people from progressing and growing, and a lot of the time it's themselves, and a lot of the time it's their support network. And you'll see this as well, like, for sure you'll see this. I've been a personal trainer for 11 years, and I see it all the freaking time. And online and offline, it's really not that different in reality. I did 10 years offline and 1 year online, and it hasn't changed that drastically by going online. It's still so many excuses, so many things, like so many reasons that you can't do it, so many reasons not to do something, and so few reasons to actually commit and do it. So, make of that what you will, but it's the truth, I think.
Do you know what? That's why I'm sort of partly very fascinated with mindset work and like self-talk, like the power of our words and the, you
Yes.
know, what we say and is what, you know, is what
Yeah,
we
you
think
love an
about.
affirmation, don't
And
you?
yeah, yeah, well, I not necessarily even necessarily affirmations. I just think like saying positive stuff so that you tell your mind that you deserve stuff, you know, because people,
Yes.
it's like going back to that investing in yourself. It's like, I don't deserve to invest in myself. Like, what kind of message is that? It's like, yes,
Yeah.
you do.
Of
Like,
course you do.
you deserve,
Why would you not? Why
yeah.
would you not deserve it? You know, it's insane. It's
But then
absolutely
again,
insane.
that's another one though. I feel like you can give them the tools to instill a positive mindset, but it's
Hmm.
up to them to use
To
it.
actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I really agree. Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a problem, but I think the more aware we are of it, the less it will, you know, rear its head, because we're going to be able to sort it out and help people through it and help people to make those decisions that are going to progress them in life. Oh, it's disappeared. All right, guys. So, assuming this is still recording, I think Christian has disappeared, unfortunately. But hopefully it will all get recorded, and hopefully if you want to get involved and get in touch with Christian, just go to recovery to discovery, and the 2 is the number 2. I will tag him. And if you go to recovery to discovery on Instagram, Christian Larsmon on LinkedIn. I imagine he's probably on Facebook as well, although my Facebook knowledge is not what it should be, let's say. But yeah, if you want to hook up to Christian, maybe chat to him a little bit more, then go and add him on Instagram and he will chat to you from there. I hope you all got something from this. Any questions, give me a shout, and hopefully I will see you next week.